Good morning students. I hope you have seen the previous video where I have discussed about the direct elections, the merits of direct elections children. This video is in continuation obviously. So I am going to explain you about the demerits of direct elections and many more things. I hope you will have understood about franchise, representation, suffrage. These all are the terms and that is not new to us actually. We have already did in class 9th and 10th as well children in the chapter elections. So let's start with another topic, right children? Let's start now. Now demerits of direct elections are as follows children. Now here the very first demerit is what children? People cannot really judge the ability of their representative. The very first demerit. Now what is in this children? In direct election the people tend to vote on the basis of such factor as local loyalty, caste, religion of the candidate that they fail to vote on the basis of ability of each contestant. Further, people cannot really judge the abilities of the local candidate children. Next, really qualified and able person always fear direct election. Well educated and able person are not prepared to contest direct election because in this, propaganda and popular passions play a big role. They find it difficult to approach all the people for getting support. Next, source of local rivalries and dispute. Direct elections are always contested by a very large number of candidates. The situation gives rise to more political rivalries and enmity and dispute. Candidates always get involved in dirty tricks for scoring political victories. Next, more expensive. Direct elections are very expensive because each candidate finds it essential to personally and directly contact all the people of his constituency. Next, poor people find it difficult to contest direct elections. Since direct elections are more expensive and more contested election, the poor people find it difficult to contest these. Next, people avoid taking sides and hence avoid using their right to vote. In a direct election, all the contesting candidates are known to the voter. They have relation with several of them at time. Voter find it difficult to vote for any one of them. This influences them to abstain from casting their vote. Next, strengthen party politics. Direct elections are very expensive. These involve a complex and expensive process of election campaign. The candidates do not have the resources to meet these needs. They naturally depend on their political parties for support. The political party also try to give party tickets to rich candidates. In this way, direct election gives strength to both party politics and money power politics. Then direct election with a multi-party system lead to the election of representative even with minority of vote. When direct elections are held in the environment of a multi-party system, the votes of the people get distributed among several candidates. This often leads to a victory of a candidate not backed by a real majority of vote. He gets elected within even 25 to 30% of popular votes. So I hope you will have understood about the demerits of direct election children. Now let's come on to indirect election. Now indirect election, now what do you mean by that? When people elect their representative through some intermediaries, the election system is designated as indirect election. For example, you can take the example of your country children, of our country obviously. In India, the president is elected indirectly. The people elect their MPs and MLAs who then elect the president of India. The member of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together elect the vice president of India. Further, the member of Rajya Sabha are also elected indirectly. They are elected by the member of each state legislative assembly, that by the MLA of a state. When the people elect the member of an electoral college, and thereafter these elected members elect the representatives of the people, the system is called direct election. Now let's come on to the merits of indirect election children. Election of good and competent representative. In an indirect election, the people elect a group of electors which then elect the representatives. The group of electors act as a screen for making a proper judgment about the ability of the contesting candidate. It elects the most competent candidate as the representative of the people. An indirect election also involves a direct election. An indirect election also begins with the voters directly electing a group of electors which then elect the representatives of the people. Thus, indirect election also involves the merit of a direct election. Then, indirect election is less noisy and more orderly. Indirect election of a representative causes less disorders and noise. The people elect the group of electors which has several 100 members. All the people get their delegates elected to it. This group then elect the representatives of the people in an orderly and peaceful manner. Direct election is mostly a disorderly, wasteful and irritating election, and an indirect election is free from all these problems. Then, less role of political party. In an indirect election, the political parties are involved only in the first stage, that the election of the group of elected by the people. Thereafter, their role is virtually over because the representative are then elected by the group of electors. Less expensive system. Indirect election become less expensive because people elect an institution and this institution then elect all other representatives. More suitable for a national level election. When the people of a state are to elect a national level political power holder or representative, the indirect election system is more useful. All the people first elect an electoral college, which then elect the national representative or public official. More suitable for developing country. In most of the developing country, the number of educated and politically aware people is mostly limited. Most of the people are illiterate and ignorant of politics. They have, a mild political culture. In such countries, indirect election is more useful. It helps the election of more competent representatives. Now, let's come on to demerits, children. It is less democratic. In the first place, we can say that indirect election are considered to be less democratic. In these, the voters elect only some electors and not their representatives. Lack of a direct contact between the people and their representatives. Since the representatives are not directly elected by the people, the links between them and the elector always remain limited. Increased role of political party. Indirect election involves two elections. First, the election of the group of electors and then election of representatives by the elector. In both these elections, political parties get involved. Hence, indirect election involves an increase in the role of political party. More chances of corruption. Now see, more chances of corruption, children. Indirect election increases the chances of corruption. It is quite easy for the contesting candidate to purchase the vote of a majority of the member of the electoral college, whose number is quite small as compared to the people. Less political education, children. In indirect election, the people play only an indirect role in election. It is confined to the election of electors and not the representatives. Hence, there is always a limited opportunity for effective popular participation and political education. Next, representative can act in a irresponsible way due to lack of direct contact between the people and their indirectly elected representative. The latter can behave in an irresponsible way. They can indulge in ignoring public opinion and demands. More expensive and delaying system. Indirect elections are held in two stages and hence these involve at least two votings. This makes the holding of election a more expensive and delaying system. Less popular involvement in organization, the working of the government. Due to indirect election, people are not involved in the final election of their representative. In this way, their role in government making becomes limited. They do not develop a feeling of attachment with the indirectly elected representatives. Not a popular method of election. In practice, most of the states have preferred to adopt the direct election system because these find the indirect election system both less democratic and less useful. Historical experience has been in favor of direct election, right, children? So I hope so people have understood about the demerits of the indirect election. In fact, indirect election is held to be less democratic and less useful. It has been due to such a thinking that almost all democratic states have adopted the system of direct election. However, realizing that there are also some merits of the indirect election system, several states have also started making a limited use of this method. In India, Lok Sabha MPs, MLAs of all state legislative assembly and panchas and sarpanchas of panchayats and municipal councillors are directly elected by the people. However, along with them, the President of India, Vice President of India, member of the Rajya Sabha and member of the State Legislative Council are indirectly elected by the people. Now let's come on to forms of representation, children. Representation, everyone knows what is representation. In each modern liberal democratic state, the government is formed by elected representatives of the people who carry out all the work of the government on behalf of the people. That is why modern democracy is called representative democracy or indirect democracy. Now come on to representation. The system of representing the people is called representation. Representation means standing for or acting on behalf of the people or a large body of people, the electorate. Democracy as is currently in operation is in almost all democratic country of world is called representative democracy, in which the people elect their representative who exercises political power on their behalf. The elected representatives represented the views, needs and demands of the people of democracy. Now children, Now here we have two forms of representation. I hope so representation I've already explained you children what is all about. Now let's move on to two forms of representation: territorial representation, functional representation. Now representation can be territorial representation or functional when all the persons living in a demarcated territory, that is constituency, together elect their representatives or some representatives. The system is called territorial representation. Representation on the basis of territorial constituency, when the people belong to different profession or functions or vocations are given the right to elect their respective representative for exercising political power on their behalf. The system is called functional representation, children. I hope so people have understood what do you mean by territorial representation, functional representation. I can repeat now. When the constituency are delimited as territorial unit, and from each territorial constituency all the elector, that is for example teachers, students, civil servant, businessman, industrialist, shopkeeper, drivers, mechanics, doctor, engineer, accountants, people belonging to all class and all profession, jobs and occupation elect their common representative. The system is called territorial representation. In other words, a territorial district or constituency is demarcated area or a delimited area, and voters living within the territorial limits of this area elect a representative or some representatives. For example, when all the people residing in a city, say which is a single constituency for electing a member of Lok Sabha, elect one person as a representative, that is MP. The system is called territorial representation. This is the most popular way of representation. In almost all the state, territorial constituency are created and territorial representation is given. It is also called geographical representation, children. So I hope you people have understood about the representation, children. In the coming videos, I'll try to explain more things about constituencies and lot many things. So I hope so. This topic is not at all difficult, children. Here we are just categorizing. We are just reading the kinds, children. Direct and indirect elections, their merits, their demerits. Then the representation are being divided into two forms, that is territorial representation and functional representation, children. So I hope so you people have already understood the definition by now. You people have already understood the forms of representation, children. So do actively listen to this video, children. Till then, thank you.